Today, we are going to be talking about the current state of Marathon. And I have a lovely presentation W streamer to give you guys something to look at while we talk about it. So it is no secret that Marathon ain't looking too good lately. That's put it lightly, but I do think that it's possible for them to make a comeback, for Bungie to pull it on back a little bit if they make the proper adjustments, make it more appealing to the general public. Because let me expand the view here. There are peaks of interest. Obviously, this was the start of season 2. We peaked around 41,000 on Steam. And then the mid-season update, when they introduced a Vault Breaker, 15,000 roughly on Steam. So the game does generate interest, and I do think that there is an audience here. But as you can see, the game just always leads the players back down. So that tells me the game doesn't have an issue generating interest. Where it does have an issue is the onboarding retention process, and it doesn't do enough to keep people's interest. So we're going to talk about some of the things that they need to do to fix that. These are in no particular order. These are just the random assortment of things that I think they do need to adjust and work on to fix the game. Number 1, fix the damn netcode. Y'all can correct me if I'm just spitting BS to y'all, but I swear in season 1, I swear that this was not as big of an issue as it was in season 2. I don't know what they did with the recent season 2. Again, maybe I'm just like nostalgia brain and I don't remember, but season 2, there is so much damn rubber banding and both bullets and knife attacks just not registering. Shocker. In an FPS game, it feels pretty bad when your character doesn't move the way you want them to move, and when your attacks don't hit when they should hit. But it especially sucks when, if you die in an extraction shooter, you lose everything. So please, Bungie, fix the damn netcode. I should not be just glitching around like that should not be happening. Next, improve the new player experience and onboarding process. I made a video where I went in depth about some of the things that I think that they could add to the game to improve this for new players. W plug, go check out that video. Check me on YouTube at It's 80 Baby, W plug. Just to kind of, I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to ramble on too long here, but I do think that there is a lot that they could do with the new player onboarding process and retention process. Clean up the UI a little bit. I think some people overstate it a little bit. Make it seem like it's trying to decipher ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics when they look at the UI, the menu. But I'm not going to sit here and lie. It is not a clean menu by any stretch of the imagination. Like the game here, they do a little bit of walking you through it when you hop into the game for the first time as a new player. But I mean, it is definitely not the cleanest UI menu system in the world. So clean that up a bit. I do think that they need to add some sort of tutorial system in the game. Not everybody's terminally online. Not everybody's going to be looking at a bunch of YouTube tutorials to like learn the maps. Especially, not even so much the maps, the events on the maps. I remember the first time I was playing this game, I felt so lost when I heard Oni assaulting my ears with profit opportunity available, and you see the big, like the first one with Dire March, you see the big death box, the lockout, dropping down on you. And I was just like, what the heck do I even do here? So definitely need to like have some sort of like tutorial sections. And then also possibly implementing a safe pocket. I know that's kind of a controversial thing. People like, oh my god, you're gonna make the game too easier to go against the original vision of the game. Brother, we need to adapt a little bit, otherwise we are going to keep bleeding players. So just doing some things like that, some tutorials, safe pocket, perhaps even a beginner playlist like levels 1 through 30. You only play against people that are also level 1 through 30. You know, just stuff like that to help kind of ease new players into the game, because extraction shooters are already a pretty unforgiving, difficult genre to pick up as well. You just gotta do your best to ease people into it. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep people are gonna come in and then they're gonna just leave like they have been. So improve the new player experience onboarding, whatever that looks like, whatever you gotta do, make it happen. Next, the PvE Sucks. Let me elaborate. That's kind of just a big open-ended statement right there. I made a couple various bullet points going into this. It lacks depth and variety. So what I mean by that is that the bots just are not entertaining to fight for any extended period of time. The function that they serve in the context of PvPvE, they do very well. They are an obstacle. They slow you down. They consume some of your resources, be it ammo, meds, make noise to attract other people. In that context, they function fine. Probably fine for the vision that Bungie had for them. I think Vault Breaker unintentionally kind of really exposed the lack of depth and how unfun the UESC is to fight in Marathon, because we are either going to just shoot at you, we're going to go invisible, then shoot at you, we're going to lob grenades, then shoot at you, we're going to throw up a big shield, and then you guessed it, we're going to shoot at you. They need to add more variety in the design of the bots and make them function differently in how they try to fight you, and change the way you as a player and as your squad interact with the bots in order to defeat them. Just gonna spitball a couple ideas. I'm not even saying these are like the best ideas they need to add it, but just examples of things that they could do to make it more fun. Have a weak bot like a gray or green shield that like rocket thrusts at you, like the destroyer jump dash ability, and it tries to like melee you with like a sword arm. Or perhaps you have a really big chunky boy that is super heavily armored from the front, and the only weak spot is the head, but even that's going to be pretty weak. But it has like maybe exposed energy cell cores on the back, so that way if one person takes the aggro from the front and you circle around the back, shoot the energy cores, and it does like mega damage. Stuff like that to just kind of force the way or change the way your squad and yourself interact with the bots, just to make it more fun, because right now it's just they all behave the same and they are just varying levels of bullet sponges. So I can add depth and variety. There are no aspirational or grand scale type of enemies, and this goes in part for why the game is super heavily PvP focused and why that turns off hybrid players or more PvE focused players. Think about Arc Raiders. I'm not saying that Arc is a perfect game. It has its own faults, of course. With Arc Raiders, you have these big, difficult, grand scale enemies that, in theory, drop a bunch of loot, but they are also difficult enough that where you are kind of incentivized, like, hey, if we want to do this, I gotta team up with other players, or our squad has to team up with another squad. Not that it's always gonna happen. Of course, there's still gonna be PvP, but it just kind of incentivizes that desire that you know, like, maybe we should, if we want to get this loot, get this reward, take down this cool enemy, we gotta have to team up. There's nothing like that in Marathon. The closest thing that they have to it in Marathon is probably the compiler, but even that, people aren't really hopping in, clamoring at the idea to team up for that, and that just really discourages PvE. It makes people just want to play PvP because they know that there's nothing that is worth doing, because everything can reasonably be done by yourself and your squad. If you come with enough ammo, enough meds, and you know what you're doing, every enemy in the game can be very easily taken out by just yourself and your squad. And then, but let's say that there was something tough enough where it's like, okay, if we want to do it, we really gotta team up, right? The best loot that you can probably get outside compiler is the rocket drone. It drops 2 containers, and the loot density is so low that even if you had 2 people are like, yo, yeah, let's team up, let's do it, one team is going to be feeling scammed because the loot gets spread thin enough as it is with just your squad. It's just going to turn into more people fighting. It's like, why would we even team up? We know that one of us is just going to get scammed anyways. They need to have more aspirational, tough enemies in order to incentivize needing to team up, and then also make them more rewarding, have more loot density. Otherwise, people are just going to continue to just only want to PvP because the PvE is not engaging or rewarding enough. And next slide, I kind of started yapping about that already, but just not rewarding enough in general. Generally speaking, the PvE is just not good enough. Even if there was more variety, like I discussed earlier, the enemies themselves were just more fun and more engaging to fight, they don't drop good enough loot. Every once in a while you get a good high roll, like sometimes on Outpost you can get a key drop, but generally speaking, like 99 times out of 100, it's just not even worth it to fight it. They make too much noise, they take your resources, they're not fun to fight, and they don't even give you enough good loot to justify it anyway. So change all that about the PvE aspect of the game, and more people who are more hybrid focused or more PvE focused will want to stick around the long term to play, because right now the game really only appeals to very heavily PvP focused players. So next, don't ruin the early wipe economy. Take a little swig in my beverage before I start yapping at y'all again. Oh, it's good. For anyone that wasn't around early wipe of season 2, essentially they ruined the early wipe economy. They added the sponsored survival playlist, and it was a good idea in theory. Low stakes playlist where you can kind of just run around in the new map, and only fight potentially rooks. Get to explore the new map, get some loot, and just chill with your squad in low stakes PvPvE. Good idea in theory. In reality, it completely wrecked the progression of season 2 because people found out very quickly the loot was not nerfed in this playlist at all. So you can just hop in, get full on purple gear once you figured out what you're doing. And by like week 2 in season 2, everybody was basically running end game loot. People were like, well, maybe you just play Rook. You know, people want to play Rook, and then that way you're not progressing your account super far. Nobody played Rook. Nobody. Because why would I, if I want to progress my account, which I want to do at the beginning of the season, play as the Rook, which can't really do that. You can't upgrade your factions as Rook. Whereas if I queue up as the solo, and I know everyone else is going to do that, I'm not going to be contested at all. The entire season, I only ran into maybe 2 or 3 Rooks max throughout like the first like month and a half that this mode was in the game. So just take lessons from this season. Do not ruin the early wipe economy. I think that a lot of people are just genuinely burnt out of the game because we've basically all just been running late game gear since like week 2, week 3 at the very latest of this season. And I kind of equate it to cooking a meal. If you are cooking something, you season it to taste, right? You can always add more salt. You can always add more spice if you need more. But if you add a bunch early on and you find out, oh shit, that was way too much, you can't take it out. And that's essentially what the approach you need to take with the loot economy of season 3. If anything, just start lower, have the loot be a little bit nerfed, and then you can always buff it up, and that will feel fine, because then it's like, oh god, it felt kind of slow early on, but like now we got the stuff, now we can play it, now we can game. But if you give everybody everything early, and then you're like, okay, we gotta nerf down the loot economy, it's gonna feel like shit, because now it's like there's nothing even worth doing. I run outposts all day, hit the red room, and the loot's ass because the economy's nerfed, because you messed up the progression. So please, Bungie, if nothing else, learn from season 2 and have a good natural progression in season 3. Next, cater to solo players more. I don't think cater is the right word. It was just kind of like the one that I think of best. Really, I just mean don't make them feel so left out. Solo players, in a lot of ways, kind of feel forgotten about or just like an afterthought. And I describe it like this. You can play Marathon as a solo player, but you cannot get the full Marathon experience as a solo player. You can boot up the game, and you can play Perimeter, you can play Dire Marsh, Outpost as a solo, no issues. Get the full experience. But Cryo Archive and Ranked, you cannot get the full experience as a solo player. Cryo, you have to either fill with randoms, or you have to have a squad, because you cannot, there's no solo only playlist in Cryo. And it's the same situation with ranked to a degree. Either you have to fill with randoms, or you have to just do solo versus squad, and that's fun sometimes. Like I like to do solo versus squad sometimes, but just doing that all the time, no, I'm not trying to sweat that hard all the time. Just make a solo playlist for everything, because there are a bunch of solo players out there. Whatever reasons people may have, they don't have to justify themselves, but maybe your social battery's just drained at the end of the day. You don't want to deal with other people. Maybe you have like a little bit of social anxiety. You just want to worry about yourself. Or maybe you're like, I'm not that good at the game, and I don't really want to risk random people's loot by loading in with them, and I play like butt, and all of a sudden everyone's blaming me. I feel like I cost the team. Whatever reason you have as a solo player, if you want to play solo, you should be able to do it. And Marathon just needs to just add a solo playlist for everyone to make them feel more welcome and let them have the full experience. Because I think there's a lot of untapped solo player population that's out there that just doesn't want to play the game or stick with it because they know they can't get the full experience. And last but not least, we need a new map. I understand the maps for extraction shooters are, generally speaking, very big very detailed, and I'm not one of these spoiled people. Like, I saw a post the other day on Twitter that was like, there needs to be like 2 or 3 new maps every season. That's not realistic. That's never gonna happen. Especially because I don't want them to sacrifice the future maps quality. Yeah, I want it to be on par with how good these maps, the ones that we have, are. Bungie really set a good standard, a good bar with the maps in this game. I want them to keep that standard. Season 2, let me first watch it back a little bit. Season 1, we get Perimeter, Dire Marsh, Outpost, and then by the end of the first month, we get Prayer Archive. 6 maps, we love them. Season 2, we get a variant of Dire Marsh in Night Marsh, and like, it's cool, it plays different, but at the end of the day, it's still Dire Marsh. And Season 3, we are getting a rework of Perimeter. Now, it does need love. It does feel a little bit empty at times, doesn't have as much stuff to do. By the end of Season 3, we're gonna be like, probably what, at the end of November, maybe even in December. So that would mean we'd be going on for like 9 months almost, with just 4 maps. Like, it's just gonna get, even regardless of how good the maps are, eventually you're just gonna get burnt out and you don't want to play the same 4 maps all the time. So come Season 4, come Season 5, down the road, whenever they're ready, we really do need a new map, because there's sometimes I'm like, man, I just can't make myself play Outpost and Cryo Archive anymore. So add a new map. We need one. I understand it can't happen in Season 3. There's not enough time, but Season 4, Season 5, please add one.